Two Republican senators are proposing legislation that calls on the White House to outline a strategy that limits the mission of U.S. troops in Iraq. But President Bush plans to use today's weekly radio address to ask Congress to be patient. Joining us now to talk more about that and the rest of the week in Washington is NBC News political analyst and contributing editor for the Congressional Quarterly, Craig Crawford. Good morning to you, Craig.
Good morning, Campbell.
Good to see you. Welcome. Let's start with this pretty tough week for the president on Iraq. First, a party line vote in the House to withdraw troops from Iraq in the spring. And then yesterday, two very influential Republican senators, John Warner and Richard Lugar, took steps to politically complicate things for the president even further. Explain what happened and then what you think the fallout is going to be.
Well, Warner and Lugar are trying to give other Republicans some safe ground to find some daylight between them and the president, but not go as far as the Democrats would, like the Democrats in the House who voted to end the war much more clearly than anything in this proposal from Lugar and Warner. And next week, the Senate takes up that more dire Democratic proposal. And I think a lot of what Warner and Lugar were doing here, Campbell, was to give Republicans something to vote for so they can sort of have it both ways. Say we're challenging the president, but we're not going as far as the Democrats to call for an end of the war.
Craig, what we keep hearing from the White House is wait till September until we get that progress report on the troop surge from General Petraeus. But can the president keep Congress at bay until then?
I believe so, Campbell, because there is no sign that Democrats or anti-war lawmakers are anywhere near the numbers they need to override a presidential veto, which he's threatened to do already with the House proposal voted passed this week. So if they cannot override his vetoes, then he's got the numbers to keep playing this rope-a-dope with Congress.
Okay, let's turn to politics and the campaign of Senator John McCain. We heard the reporting of Chip Reed. Bottom line this, is his campaign dead or do you think he can recover?
I think it's way too early to do the obituaries. Front runners, a year ago he was the front runner. Front runners tend to stumble. I'll grant this is more of a slip and fall accident, full scale, than a stumble. But he's got to get back to being Luke Skywalker like he was in 2000, the maverick underdog challenger, rather than playing the Galactic Empire, which he tried to do and obviously couldn't sustain with the kind of funds you need to do that. But there's time for him, and other front runners in the past. You know, John Kerry had a meltdown and rose from it, firing staff and got back in the game. So did Al Gore, even Ronald Reagan going back to 1980. So I'll give him a little more time.
If McCain is out, though, which Republican do you think benefits the most?
I think probably, I have put some money. If I were betting on this race, Campbell, I think Romney's the candidate to watch on the Republican side. I think, Giuliani and if they pick up McCain's support, it might be diffused among two or three of the leading candidates. But I think we also ought to remember about McCain as a potential running mate. He's the only candidate in the Republican side with clear national security credentials, and that might be an attractive option for the other candidates down the road, somebody with his gravitas.
Craig, let me quickly turn to Democrats, and I just want to get your take on this conversation between Senator Hillary Clinton and John Edwards about how to push out, or how to try to push out, some of the lower tier candidates from the debate. Dennis Kucinich accusing them of trying to rig the election.
Yeah, well, one of the proposals Edwards talked about was a sort of a lottery where they would have smaller groups chosen at random. That seems kind of interesting. Many of these candidates really only speak 4 or 5 times in these 90-minute debates. I have to wonder, though, Campbell, how genuine Senator Clinton was in seeming to agree with Senator Edwards about limiting debates, because when you're the front runner, you're better off if you only have to talk 4 or 5 times. You can stick to your talking points and less opportunity to make mistakes.
All right, fair point. Craig Crawford, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Good to be here.